Ben Azimi here, personal injury lawyer and litigator. Today I want to discuss social host liability. A social host can be anyone, for instance, hosting a house party. The leading case on the subject is Childs versus Desremeaux, which is a 2006 Supreme Court of Canada case. In the Childs case, the injured individual was not a guest but a third party. The guest had left the party and was involved in a serious car accident with the third party, rendering him quadriplegic. The third party then sued the host, but the Supreme Court decided that a party host does not owe a duty to other users of the road who are harmed by an intoxicated guest. The proximity between the users of the road and a social host was deemed to be too remote. However, the court noted that if a social host serves a guest alcohol with knowledge that the impaired guest would drive after the party, that host could be found liable. In 2017, a court decision by the name of Wardek versus Froome emerged and brought back the discussion of social host liability. Ultimately, the case stands for finding that social hosts may be found liable if an intoxicated guest is injured after leaving a party, especially if the guest is underage. In the Wardek case, the parents, who were the party host, did not serve alcohol to the guests, but had knowledge that at their party there was underage drinking going on. And the guest who ultimately brought the lawsuit was showing signs of intoxication prior to leaving to the party. So the guest leaves, gets into his car, and gets into a single motor vehicle collision and sustains serious and permanent injuries, and he was intoxicated. Now, what turned the case on its head is that the defendant in the Wardek case used the Childs case to argue that there was no social host liability, as the Supreme Court had found. However, Justice Madison, who was the presiding judge over the matter in the case, read the Childs case as allowing the possibility that social host liability could be found. He relied on the court's decision in the Childs case and specifically quoted the decision and interpreted the Supreme Court decision in a way that does in fact show that there is possibility that liability could be found. He noted the Supreme Court had in fact stated that hosting a party at which alcohol is served does not without more establish the degree of proximity required to give rise to a duty of care on the hosts to third-party highway users who may be injured by an intoxicated guest. Now, Justice Madison said the phrase that is used within the quote that I just mentioned, the phrase without more, allowed a duty of care to arise for social hosts in other circumstances. Now, one circumstance that Justice Madison mentioned and found that the court in the Childs case had considered was where harm to somebody is foreseeable, or if the host had a paternalistic relationship of supervision and control over the plaintiff who is suing them. So, by looking at it that way, he finds that the Supreme Court in Childs does in fact determine that in paternalistic relationships, or in relationships where the host must be supervising and should have control over the guest, there is a positive duty to act. Now, with the holiday season coming forward, many people may actually host their own holiday parties or house parties and gatherings and may plan to serve alcohol. So in this video, I want to leave you with some tips that I think you may find helpful. Number one, hire a bartender or a private server or private serving company that has Smart Serve certification and that can assist with monitoring alcohol consumption of the guests, so that to ensure that not many or no guest leaves the party intoxicated. Second tip, ensure that the guests showing signs of intoxication have designated drivers or will be taken home by a taxi. And more important, if they plan on driving, you must take the keys away from them. Number 3, serve food if you're going to be serving alcohol. And number 4, make sure to talk to guests, any guest, before they leave the party to ensure that you can confirm that they're able to drive. And if they can't, take the keys away from them. Be safe, and I hope you found this episode helpful. I'll see you in the next episode.